I decided to insulate the garage. I want to insulate it with polystyrene foam and USB. The gate already has threaded studs and I don't need to make holes for the bars. I need to stick foam on the gate and put a USB on top. I already purchased polystyrene foam. I measured the area of the gate. It turned out to be 4.5 square meters. I took polystyrene foam for 5 square meters. Now the task is to measure and cut the foam. By the way, the paint on the threads of the studs needs to be cleaned off for the nuts, if there is any, of course. The gate is 120 centimeters wide, 190 centimeters high. The size of the foam is 1 by 0.5 meters, thickness 40 millimeters. We mark the dimensions on the gate with a pencil. As in the proverb, measure 7 times, cut once. We take into account the thickness of the corner 5 millimeters. Cutting foam is simple. Mark the cut line with a pencil and cut it along the ruler with a construction knife. I have already cut the foam along the edges of the gate. In the corners, due to the protrusion of the corner by 5 millimeters, the thickness of the foam is 35 millimeters. The total thickness of the foam is 40 millimeters. The foam is already cut, both on one side of the gate and on the other side. First we glue the corner part of the foam, then the main one. The foam for gluing has already been moved. For gluing we use a can of foam glue and a disposable gun. Remove the lid of the foam glue and mix the container. We twist the gun along the thread, clockwise. When working, the cylinder should be on top. Next, stretch the tube. I applied a layer of glue. Now we press down the foam. This is how you need to apply glue to the foam. Walk around the perimeter and apply it to the middle. I started gluing and continue with the song. After gluing the foam, there are gaps between the sheets and they need to be sealed with foam. And now you can install USB. I have already cut the USB, measuring 118 by 195 millimeters. Next, you need to make markings for this. Using a tape measure, measure the distance in length and height and mark it on the USB with a pencil. We also make markings for the lugs and closures. We take measurements for the lock and apply it to the USB. I cut the ears with a regular saw vertically and horizontally with a wood hacksaw. I also use a blade for cutting tiles. It can be cut in any direction. I put the USB on the ground, preferably put pieces of wood down and make holes with a drill. The studs have a diameter of 6 millimeters, but I would rather use an 8 millimeters drill to make it easier. Use a grain file to remove uneven edges and adjust the USB around the perimeter. We also use coarse sandpaper for adjustment. I have P40. Now we put the USB on the gate. Next, we put washers on the studs around the entire perimeter and tighten them with nuts. Tighten with a wrench. This is how it happened with one side of the gate. The USB practically sat down. The only thing here is a small ledge, but here the lock is an obstacle. We also adjusted the second gate door and this is how it turned out. Not bad at all in my opinion. We trim off the excess foam from the bottom with a construction knife. To prevent fungus or insects from corroding the wood, we use a special primer. We prime on both sides. Before priming or painting with varnish, The surface must be sanded with sandpaper. I use P40 sandpaper and sand with it. Now I pour the primer into a container and use a brush to apply it to the surface of the wood, on both sides. Next, so that the foam does not crumble from below and does not deteriorate, I putty it. I putty with external putty. I have 0.5 kilograms of ready-made putty. I removed the excess putty with a spatula, and the sides were also puttied. Now water will not get in from below. Let's start varnishing the OSB surface. I purchased an inexpensive yacht varnish with a capacity of 0.75 liters. Light oak colored. To paint I will need a large brush and varnish. I finished the varnishing and this is what I got. Not a light oak color, but still beautiful. The only thing left for me to do is install the wind bars. And install the wash basin, and that's where the insulation ends. And install the wash basin, and that's where the insulation ends.